might start off with you, and just if you want to kind of tell us a little bit about version 1 and kind of what you're doing in that area. I know AI is a big thing for you at the moment as well in terms of workplace design. So yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about it.
Before I get into that, I just want to say, wow, that was amazing. And how am I supposed to go first after that? And the amazing speakers that we've had this morning, they were absolutely extraordinary. And just to be in the room and feel the energy with kindred spirits and everyone's passion, and we all care about this. And to know that the issues that we're facing are core and common to everyone that's here today. And I love just the idea sharing. So now to move into answering the question that I've gotten that off my chest. What are we doing at version 1? So version 1 is a technology company. Our amazing people are really our product. And my job is to make sure that they're happy, have healthy, high performance, and that they're thriving. And now, from this, that they're having a lot more fun at work. But we've a new CEO who started yesterday, so I'm going to have to go on that journey. But AI native is a micro mission, is what we're calling it. And that's that every single one of our employees is augmented with intelligence on tap. That we think AI first in everything we do. That when we're talking to our customers and we're hearing problems like, I don't have time, this is heavy with compliance, you know, there's a lot of data. They're thinking, we have something for you, we can do something. But why are we doing that? It's not to automate roles, it's to free our people up, to have more time to spend with each other, hopefully having fun, with our clients, and to have more human interactions so that we can be more creative. So AI native is not to make AI more human, it's to augment our humans to be more human.
And how do you prep the teams, the leadership teams and the managers and all of the employees for that? Because I think there's a lot of fear around it as well. And trying to get them to understand that this is going to improve culture. There's elements of this that we need to incorporate into the workplace. How do you get them kind of prepared for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have like an enterprise-wide approach. And I'm really fortunate because the org dev team that I work with, they're a bunch of superstars. It's really them, it's not me at all. But what we've done is we've worked with communications, change management, engagement strategy, health and well-being, as well as capability and education and L&D. So what we're doing is creating AI Fundamentals Part 1, 2 and 3, which is taking an enterprise-wide approach to raise the AI literacy of the entire organisation. Then what we're doing is a sector-by-sector programs called AI Ready. And the first one is AI Ready Architect, which is teaching people to do rapid prototyping so that they can show, not tell. And I loved that came up a few minutes ago. Yeah. So that's absolutely brilliant, so that they can sit and actually demo it with the customer. Then AI Ready Seller, Architect, Design, Ambassador program. But really what we're trying to do is show the employee base that they have agency, that they can get involved, and this isn't happening to them, it's happening with them. And we had to take an honest look at ourselves. Our leadership programs, we thought they were wonderful. Oh, aren't we all great in L&D? And then we were like, I had a conversation with somebody one day, and he said to me, I'm not a leader, I'm a Greenline manager. And I was like, Houston, we have a problem. Because I'm looking at Robin, she knows what Greenline is. It's a performance tool. I'm like, what is a Greenline manager? So I was like, if our managers don't see themselves as leaders, how are we going to be pioneers in the fourth industrial revolution? So we completely redesigned everything called One Leadership. Everybody is a leader. You can lead from any seat. You're a consultant. You're leading with the customer. So One Leadership is disseminating the messages about leading self, leading others, and leading organisation at the level you need it. And a huge component to that is One Leadership is a global mindset, inclusive behaviours.
Yeah, I love that.
Sorry, I get really passionate about it, so keep me on time.
I love it, but I love the phrase as well. It's not happening, it's not to them, it's with them.
Yes.
Like that's even just that simple phrase is key to, because I think that's where the fear has come from, is this is happening to me, I need to adapt, I need, you know, instead of being, no, this is with you, we're going to do this with you, this is a tool to help and support, you know?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Amazing. Ed, we'll come to you. I've seen you speak before. I've been fascinated about all the work that Ericsson is doing in terms of career development and in terms of that space. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, first though, you're fantastic dancers.
Yeah.
Brilliant, so well done.
We saw you up there as well. Yeah, you were up there
Yeah.
too.
Jack Palance is definitely what it's all about. So when it comes to learning and development and also kind of career development, what we've looked at is, I suppose, areas that we want to signpost to the organization. So we're saying, right, in 2 or 3 years' time, what are the skills that you're going to need as an organization and where do you want to get to? So obviously ones that Cleo mentioned, for instance, AI, that's a definite one. But then you have things like cloud, power skills, but also things like compliance as well has come into play. And of course, the whole DEI space as well is another area that has really gone up very much so. And within that then, what we're saying to each individual is that you look at the role that you have a number of skills that are associated with that role. And by that, you can see where you are and you can rate yourself within those skills. So you can see whether I'm a level 4, which is really, really high, or a level 1, which is just introductory. So you can say that I'm a projects manager and I need the 6 core skills that I need within to do my job. And that opens up so many different areas for you when it comes to talent planning, succession planning, the ability to see what skills are very much associated with each other. And one thing that, you know, we're trying to do and what I'm trying to push is the fact that it's not a traditional career path that you have now. It's very much zigzag. And I know it's a cliche, but it is what it's all about now. And that's really where you need to get to. So you're able to go in and look at the skills that you have versus the skills that you want to get to when you're when you want to be, let's say, an account manager, for instance. What's the delta? And how do you build up those skills? And that's really, really important when it comes to, you know, retention, growth. And people then are so fascinated and they want to learn more as well. And it's been a key part in terms of what we're doing and how we're pushing it out. So again, it doesn't matter what size of company you have. You can still signpost to your people to say, these are the 3 or 4 skills that we need and how we're going to get there. And don't forget about yourselves, because you need to upskill yourself too. We're very much like the cobbler's children, going around with the not fantastic shoes. So therefore, you need to make sure that you're part of that and you need to lead from the front. And that's very much kind of where we're at.
And where do you feel kind of that sits in terms of responsibility? And is it HR teams? Is it leadership? Is it everyone? I love the idea of Cleo saying we're all leaders. You know, it should sit with us all.
Spot on. It's everybody. But I think as a leader, you set the tone. So what we're trying to say is that we're saying that leaders are the learning drivers throughout the organization. They're the ones who will give you the space to learn. They're the ones who have no problem about, you know, person A moving to B and to C to D, and very much open because they're thinking about the overall organization rather than their silo piece as well. So very much leadership, what we're saying to our leaders is, first, it's about creating that clarity. What do we want to do? Where do we want to get there? And how do we want to get there? Second thing is develop. Develop your people. And of course, you're including yourself within that as well. But the other thing that I really believe is that you can tell a good manager by seeing them as the exporters of talent. How have they allowed people, not allowed, I don't mean it like that, better not say that, but how have they seen their people move around the organization? Where have they moved to? Have they moved out? Have they moved across? And it's that kind of democratization of the ability to learn. And then the third thing is about getting results. Yeah. You know, really making sure that people are measured, that they get the feedback that Kelsey mentioned earlier. It's so important. You know, sometimes as humans, we're very, very standoffish to say, I don't want to give that feedback, but that feedback needs to be given. It needs to be timely. And and it's about human. It's about delivering that within that space. So I think it's key on that. HR are involved, or the people function are involved. But I think a lot of people believe that it's a HR thing. It's a people thing. It's your responsibility. No, it's not. Yeah. It's everybody's responsibility. You as an individual can, you know, really point and give signposts to where you want to go within your career. It's HR's responsibility to be an enabler for that. Okay? And that means providing the tools that's there, providing some of the guidelines, but you're working in partnership with the business as well, and that's key. And if you put those different components in place, it's everybody's responsibility. So you really need to be also calling out where you don't see that behavior, Because if you don't, you have to say, you know what, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
You need to do it. The expectation is that you as a leader are doing these things. The expectation as you as an individual is that you need to be thinking about your career. You need to be thinking about your next step. You need to be thinking about that whole talent mobility piece. But ultimately, when it comes down to brass tacks, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go and how do you want to get there? And is it in areas like AI? You need to constantly upskill yourself and be ready for the next thing and the next thing, because it's ever changing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Rachel, we're going to come to you. Every time we meet, I feel you wear another hat. You are covering all of the areas that Ed and Cleo and everything are talking about. And ORS has such amazing workplace culture. And you have had a huge part to play in everything that you guys are putting in place there. Can you tell us a little bit about ORS and what you guys are doing in the culture scene?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for that lovely introduction. So just to give the audience, we're not as well known as some of the businesses speaking today. So just to give you a little bit of context, so ORS is a multidisciplinary building consultancy. So we would provide services like sustainability services, project management, and civil and structural engineering. And some of our long-standing clients would include Tesco Ireland. We've worked with Tesco for over 25 years. Glenveagh, we would provide a lot of the assigned certifier services on their projects, and also Centre Parks. So we would project manage the build of Centre Parks, and we continue to work with them through their recent expansion works as well. So we've 10 offices nationwide, and my journey first started with ORS in June 2020. And back then we would have been just shy of 50 employees. So today that stands at 250 plus. So we've had a busy few years, and we've managed to do that through a mix of organic growth, but also acquisition. So we've closed 6 acquisitions since August 2023. And I suppose we've had workplace culture, I believe, is 100% the reason for our success. It's the reason why we have been able to grow at the rate that we have, but also sustain that growth. So we've had Great Place to Work accreditation in place since 2017, and that forms, like the survey results form, I see Fania there, forms the absolute basis of our people and culture strategy every single year. We really take it apart and listen to people's feedback. But there's 3 things I think that we do really well in terms of preserving that workplace culture, especially in this high growth. And the first one would be we operate under what we call a high trust working environment. And there's a huge amount of trust and autonomy and flexibility that comes with working at ORS. So we really recognise that, people are going through all sorts of different things every day, and, we're all at different stages of our life, and we're all at very different stages of our career as well. So we really try to recognise that and respect that. And one of the ways we do that is through our hybrid and flexible working. So we've actually had hybrid working in place since 2018. Our managing director, John Brennan, did it as part of his dissertation and his MBA. So we really believe that is the future of work. And so what we say is people can use their home as a base and any of our office locations as they see fit. There's no kind of rules and regulations around when you need to be in the office. But in January 2024, we completely refurbished our headquarters in Mullingar to reflect our hybrid work. And it's kind of the central point for all of our teams to come together. And it needed to reflect that. So we introduced phone booths, huddle spaces, hot desk facilities. And still to this day, if you do not book your desk in advance on a Monday morning, there will not be a desk there for you. And I just think that is such a really nice real life example of what that looks like. It's so nice to go in there on a Monday morning and the place is buzzing with people and not one person has asked to be there. The next thing that we do is around our values, and I know a lot of the speakers have already touched on this as well, but we also genuinely live and breathe our values. We've just spent the last 12 months redeveloping them to reflect who we are now as a business, but also where we're going. And we're in the rollout stage, and every single person will go through a 3.5-hour workshop on what that actually means for us, how to be guided by our values, in your day-to-day operations, but also how it aligns to your own personal values. And I think that's really where the magic happens. If you you're working in a business where your values are very similar, that's where you really see great performance from people. But I think one of our values is people first, and a really nice example of kind of what that looks like at ORS. So in January 2023, we announced, basically when we came back from the Christmas break, we announced that a private equity firm had taken a stake in ORS. So John, again, great leader, booked out the first 2 weeks of his calendar in January just to meet with people, to talk to them one-to-one about what that was going to mean for them. So what it was going to mean for them, what it was going to mean for the business, bringing them along on that journey, and also kind of easing any of their concerns. So I think that's a really nice demonstrable example. And the final thing that we do is we have, I'd say at this point, probably about 7 or 8 committees across the business. So we have, they really are the driving force of all of our cultural initiatives. They're a huge part of what we do. And originally we would have had those because we didn't have a big operational team. We didn't have operational support, but actually they've grown so much with the business. So in terms of culture, we'd have like a cultural development team that supports all of our Great Place to Work initiatives. We'd have a social committee, CPD committee, and a wellness committee. So what that looks like at ORS is, there's so much opportunity for them to own and shape the workplace culture at ORS. Anyone can join a committee. And I always say to people, it's such a nice way for them to get exposure to different people across the business, but also to get experience in things outside of their day-to-day role. So the committees are the driving force. We're very action orientated. You can guarantee if your name is against something, it's not going anywhere. It's going to follow you around until you've closed it off, you've shown progression. And there's just so many examples of ideas that people have had, or something that they're passionate about outside of ORS, and they've actually brought that into the business. They've driven it through the various different committees, and some of the best ideas that we've had have actually come from the committees at ORS as well.
I love the idea of the 2 weeks. Like, talk about a leader showcasing that he is living and breathing the culture, and letting people be in that space and be like in that with him. It's phenomenal. A great example. I think the passion that's oozing out of all 3 of you is phenomenal. Like, you're so passionate about everything that you're doing in the culture space in your workplaces. I'd love to know about some of the tough points in terms of getting to where you are now, getting the companies to be where they are, and maybe some kind of learnings as well. Cleo, will we go with you first?
Yeah, I've just been sitting here reflecting on a couple of things. So 2024 was a difficult year for version 1, I'm not going to lie. We were a company that was in double-digit growth for the longest time. We are owned by a private equity company, so anybody who is owned by a private equity company, it comes with a different set of challenges and opportunities. But we were so used to being in growth, and then things got a bit tricky last year. We also we acquired, I want to say, 3 businesses that absolutely had beautiful cultures, amazing colleagues, great people, and they were their own ecosystem. And then you're trying to integrate that ecosystem with your ecosystem on the top of financial changes. And you can imagine the challenges that came about with that. So the version 1 strategic business model is a triangle, and it's beautifully simple. It's about strong organisation on one side, customer success on the other, and that's all underpinned by empowered people. So when the triangle is in balance, people are happy, customers are happy, and we make money. But unfortunately, the strong org side of the triangle was affected, so we had to make some really difficult and painful decisions. And if you think of the Edelman Trust Index, and what that says is that employees have more trust in organisations than they do in the government, in religious institutes, in anything. And particularly younger generations coming in, they will hold leaders to higher account. So if you're not leading, and one of our core values is with honesty and integrity, you are really going to get a kick in surveys. So we work with the amazing Fania as well. And also we have our trust and empowerment survey, which you would know well. And the data wasn't painting a great picture. So what we did was we had to go back to the drawing board, and we had new leaders in the business that had come in, And what we decided was we looked at a couple of different things. Firstly, our core values, they're enshrined, but they're I-centric. They're all about me, like no ego for me. I will be customer first. They don't speak to we. So what we did was we created inclusive behaviours. And one of our core values is no ego. And sometimes that's weaponized. It can be like, okay, guys, no ego. But actually, what I wanted to do was revisit that and make that to be, I stay curious. I seek a different opinion. I say, okay, that's interesting. Let's stay curious here. Take me on the journey. I don't quite get it, but I want to understand. And actually, and that's what we were talking about outside, what is the tangible demonstration in conversation? So that's one of the first things we did. The second thing is I rewrote for my sins our EVP. It's a work in progress. I'm not going to lie. It was my first time doing it, and I was like, God, where am I even going to start with this? You know, so what I did was I had a great leader in version 1, Louise Lahiff. She said to me, Cleo, just keep it simple. Why do people join? Why do they stay? And I asked Robin this, she's here. And what should they hope for the future? And that's what I did. So I went around the business at every level, every country, and I did a snapshot and I asked them the same question. And then what I did was I overlaid that with Great Place to Work and what the Trust and Empowerment Survey was telling us. And actually, what that transpired as, it's the moments that matter. And culture is a series of micro moments. It's being able to phone a friend. It's how someone shows up for you when you're stressed. It's how a leader communicates the core values. But it's also that there was a huge sense of we're building something special. And even though we've 3,700 employees, you know, it still feels like a startup. You know, we still need, Robin has come in as compliance manager, we still have to put all the policies in place, but that kind of like entrepreneurial mindset is huge. And also people are excited about where we're going. So I kept it really simple. It's going to a vote now with a snapshot of people. Again, your communities, which is really important. And then I'll keep you posted on where it goes after that. But that's some of the lessons learned.
It's amazing work though, and I think a lot of people can relate. It's to tackle the EVP and to start again and to wonder where to start with it. It's a huge, monumental piece of work because you know it's going to be in the business for a long time to come, and that you're going to need to live and breathe it. So I'd say a lot of people in the room can relate to that as well. Ed, for you, learnings that have kind of come up or kind of on the journey that you've been on in the career development space.
Yeah, and I mean it's spot on exactly as Cleo said. I mean for us, we have professionalism, respect, and perseverance. That's the three kind of core areas. And then it was like, well, that's not really kind of hanging completely together, and we need to add more. So we've added empathy and humanness. The compliance piece has also been added on top, and then very clear in terms of what we expect our leaders to do in terms of their behavior. But that manifests itself in what you do as an individual, as a leader. So because Ericsson is in so many countries, everybody's watching what is happening. So they're watching what's happening in the US, what's happening in for instance, Ukraine and Russia on the other side, and all the different countries as well. And how you act and how you show up really shows up in terms of each of the managers living and breathing those values right across the board. And it doesn't matter what country you sit in or where you sit, people expect that same type of behavior. They expect you to act with that empathy and humanness. They expect you to act with integrity. And if that shows all the way through, that's probably one of the biggest learnings that I've seen, is that people have learned that. People have seen that and watched that. And it has a direct impact in terms of the surveys that we do, people leaving, people staying, people being happy in their roles and jobs, because they're expecting those people to live up to those expectations. So that's a key part. The other part then, I just see the clock.
Don't worry.
The other part then is Ericsson is a Swedish company, which means consensus. So you're in a situation where, I'm not joking you, we would have to have every single one of you, and I mean all of you, agreeing to my proposal, or else we're not going to walk out the door.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm not joking.
Yeah.
It's like, are you yes, right? So anyway, of course, because I'm Irish, I have the charm, then of course everybody agrees with everything I want to do. But again, that's slightly different. So it's being able to deal with those different cultures. You know, certain cultures are very directive, certain cultures are other, but being able to embrace those cultures and again providing that respect for each other. providing that empathy and humanness. And if you can show all of those things, you're going a heck of a long way to where you should be as a company.
Amazing. Thank you.
you.
And Rachel, same question to you. Learnings or hurdles that you've come across kind of on this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would say every day is a school day.
Yeah.
For us. You know, when you're growing, obviously at the rate that we're growing, you're always going to come up against various different challenges. And over the last couple of years, we've really had to invest in soft skills training. We just put just as much emphasis on soft skills as we do people's technical capabilities. We brought on a leadership development coach, Jerry Duffy. I hope some people in the audience are familiar with Jerry, but he's fantastic. We have him on a retainer basis, and he does a huge amount of work with all of our teams around emotional intelligence, self-awareness, right up from our leadership development to and our graduate program as well. So, and he also does individual coaching with people, but the thing that we noticed a couple of years ago was around kind of communication. So, like, although we try to create that human connection as much as we can and bring people together, the majority of the day-to-day stuff that we're doing is online. So, you know, and we're predominantly engineers, so, you know, they're very, very steady, very, very conscientious versus maybe myself, who would be a high eye, like I want to, you know, I'm having the chats on the call, I'm asking how their weekend was, and they're just looking at me like, what do you want? Like, you know, and that could be taken as, okay, this person's not interested, this person is being rude, this person is, you know, just not there. So that's what we were kind of saying, we were seeing throughout the teams. So what we did was we brought in DISC training. We really want people to understand their various different learning behaviours, what they're comfortable in terms of their work behaviours, but also understand their teams as well. And I think that has been a game changer. Like Jerry would do, we would do, myself and a few others are trained and kind of going through people's DISC profiles. But also then Jerry would do a workshop with the team, and we continue to do that today. Everybody would do a DISC workshop with Jerry, and people really have started to understand everybody's working behaviours, and we can nearly tell, like, you know, straight away who's a high D, who's a high S, and get the best from people. Like, that's what you want the right bums on seats, and you know, especially for a management level, actually set, you know, how to give people feedback, what's the best way that they're going to react to that feedback. So I think that's really improved our overall communication and our awareness and everybody's self-awareness as to their own work and behaviour. But the other thing as well is just around integrations, and I know you've touched on that, but like, you know, this was a personal one for me. Last year, I was kind of reflecting on everything we've done as a business and all that we've achieved. And, you know, I'm massively biased. I'm such a big believer in ORS and everything we've achieved, and we've won all these awards, and we've a great place to work, and, you know, we've hybrid working. Like, we're amazing. Like, why am I experiencing this pushback from, you know, teams that we're trying to integrate? And actually, like, it took me to reflect, well, why did we acquire these businesses? We acquired these businesses because they have similar values to us. They, you know, treat their people, manage their people in a very similar way. So it's now more about, okay, well, how can we align and how can we support them to thrive and grow and just really we always say it takes the 3 T's, which is like time, transparency and trust. And I think when those things are there, it really helps to kind of them to feel part of ORS, but not to have lost what they had in their, you know, their original place as well. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and I love how yous have all tied in, totally not planned, but you've also tied into each other so well in terms of the learning and development piece and in terms of the work environment and dealing with the acquisitions and how do you bring in that culture. So I certainly still have a lot more questions. If anyone else has questions, we'll put them into the chat, but we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Cleo, Ed and Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you. Brilliant.